Yeah, I got to play a little over an hour of Pokemon Legends ZA, the upcoming mainline Pokemon game from Game Freak. I believe Ozzy got to play a little bit of, I think he played like a 10 or 15-minute demo at an
Yeah.
event, and they told us this was from a different section of the game. Obviously, it was a much longer demo, so there was more content. But I got to really dive in and see how this was changing things up because this is the second Legends game now. We had Legends Arceus in 2022, I believe, which was awesome. Still one of my favorite Pokemon games of the Switch era. And Legends ZA, while being kind of the follow-up to that game, is extremely different because Legends Arceus was sort of a prequel. It was set in like the old days where people wore robes and the Pokeballs are made out of wood and there weren't any buildings and all the characters you met were like the ancestors of characters from modern Pokemon. Whereas this one kind of goes in the opposite direction where it's futuristic. It's all set inside of Lumiose City, which is essentially the Pokemon equivalent to Paris, originally introduced in Pokemon X and Y. Also, the games that introduced Mega Evolution, which is fitting because these games bring back Mega Evolution. After years of people begging for it, they're back. We've got a bunch of new Megas they've already revealed. A good handful of them. Victory Bell, all the starters from X and Y are getting them. Hawlucha's got a Mega. A lot of Pokemon getting new Mega Evolutions in this game. And during my demo, I got to check out Lumio City during the day and then Lumio City at night, which is significantly different from each other because when night falls, it essentially turns into a battle zone where you've got trainers walking up and down the street, and in classic Pokemon fashion, it's the you make eye contact, it's time to battle sort of thing. But I think exploring the city, I was super fascinated by how they've kind of incorporated wild Pokemon into a city environment because typically in Pokemon cities are like safe havens. You don't encounter Pokemon in cities. It's the tall grass on the roots in between them where you do all your battling and catching. But here they have what they call wild zones, which you see them on their map. They're like these little green areas, and you go there, you walk through like this holographic barrier. There's no sort of cutscene. It's a seamless transition, but you walk through, and then suddenly wild Pokemon appear. And the explanation is that these are like areas that the city has like dedicated to wild Pokemon, right? To preserve life, right? It's like Central Park or those little areas in the city where you'll see trees and stuff. Um, but you go through there and you'll just see Litleos and Houndours like walking around and whatnot, and you can seamlessly battle them. This game uses a real-time battle format, so there's no cutscene, there's no animation. You just send out your Gyarados, whatever you have, and you just command it to attack. And since there's no turn-based system now, every move is on a timed cooldown. So more powerful moves, longer cooldowns, and then weaker moves have a shorter cooldown. And immediately, it is such a like hard adjustment to make as a longtime Pokemon fan because even when they've gotten like weird and funky with the formula and they've added gimmicks, the turn-based system was always in place, right? You could always stop and look at the screen and think about what you wanted to do next. But now you're just forced to like constantly be thinking, but also constantly moving because since battles are in real time, attacks have different like areas of effect, right? So one attack might just shoot across the battlefield and attack anything in its way. And because of that, your Pokemon follows you around the battlefield. You can move out of the way. It's almost like fulfilling the wish of the Pokemon anime, right? Where Ash would be like, Pikachu, get out the way. You don't yell commands, but if your Pokemon's following you and you just roll and move out of the way, it'll move out of the way as well. And it'll dodge incoming attacks. Now, of course, there are attacks that do like area of effect. So maybe you can't dodge them. If you use like protect, you can time it so that as an attack is incoming, you just completely cancel out all of the damage. It's a really cool system. I think that people will take some time to get used to it. I don't know if people will love it as soon as we all get start to jump into it because it is an adjustment and it feels very un-Pokemon like in a lot of ways. But I thought it was challenging. I felt like a lot of the battles I was actually like struggling to kind of keep up because the CPU is not forgiving. I battled a few trainers and they don't do like, they're not like standing there mindlessly waiting for you to decide what you want to do. Like they're putting in battle commands over and over and over again, and even fighting like the alpha Pokemon, which are like the super strong wild Pokemon. They had them in Legends. They have like the red eyes. They'll chase you around and try to hit you. They are super hard to take on because again, since it's real time now, it's not one-on-one battles always. Sometimes you'll be battling a wild Pokemon and another one will just show up and start fighting you as well.
Oh
And now
God.
it's just a two-on-one. Yeah, and you're just like you're trying to send out moves and it's very easy to get overwhelmed even by like weaker Pokemon. But I thought it was a hell of a lot of fun. I think that the way they've done trainer battles now is really cool because it's like I mentioned earlier, it's still eye contact, but it's specifically eye contact with you and the trainer and not your Pokemon. Because every trainer has their partner Pokemon walking alongside them. And you can do this cool thing where, like, if you catch somebody with their back turned to you, you can send out a Pokemon to, like, do an attack on theirs. And it'll initiate the battle, but you get, like, that free sneak attack, almost like D&D, like, right? Where you just get,
Yeah.
like, a surprise round. Yeah. Which is really fun and it feels rewarding because now you're, like, using stealth on people and the way it works is like you can hide behind corners and stuff. And it's a third person game, obviously, so you can still see around obstacles and stuff. But like I had a moment where there was a trainer around a corner. He was just sitting against the wall. And I knew if I walked around the corner, he would see me immediately. So I walked to the corner, I crouched, and I had my Pokemon cast, I think it was like Thunderbolt. And my Pikachu just like runs around the corner. Again, your Pokemon doesn't proc like the eye contact thing. So my Pikachu was free to run around the corner, use Thunderbolt, and then I came around the corner and the battle started and we had already done damage. You know, we were off from there. It was really fun. And I was like, okay, this opens like a whole new area of like strategy. And similar to the last few Pokemon games, you can kind of freely swap out your four moves from like a menu. Um, and the fact that they've all kind of been repurposed to fit a real-time play style, I've found myself like using moves I didn't really care for in turn-based and vice versa. So I'm excited about this game. I think that the gameplay changes have opened up a whole new avenue for the franchise, and I liked a lot of what I got to see.
So this is your first time playing it, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I had not touched this anywhere else before my preview event.
And yeah, you played obviously the last two Pokemon games that came out on Switch 1. Just having gotten to play this on Switch 2, how was the performance in your opinion?
I thought it was buttery smooth, and
that's a crazy. You just said buttery smooth about a Pokemon game. I just want to throw that out there. That's crazy.
It is. It feels weird to say, and yeah, they were very particular about whenever they talked about the game that you were playing the Switch 2 edition. I mean, I wasn't going to mistake which platform I was on.
I have not
very clear.
I have not heard a single person in the universe who has played this game for Switch 1. I don't think it exists. Like, I think it'll come out on Switch 1, sure. But I think that's when we're going to hear the other side of this story. But it sounds like it's running great on Switch 2. That's cool.
Yeah, I think October 16th, which is release day, is when you're going to get the Switch 1 impressions. But on Switch 2, I mean, this game is awesome. I know when they did the Switch 2 upgrade for Scarlet and Violet, those games got awesome performance improvements. Obviously, performance wasn't the end of those games' problems. The graphics, the models themselves, you still plenty to complain about. And even here, don't get me wrong, this doesn't look like a beautiful, perfect game. But as far as Pokemon's concerned, it looks nice. I think that setting it in a city actually allows them to kind of like skirt around some of those rougher edges that you saw in Scarlet and Violet, where it's like you walk out and it's just an open vista where you can see like 20 miles in every direction, and it's like that mountain just looks like a triangle, and those city buildings have like, you know, four polygons to them.
It was like draw distance and pop in were like two of the biggest problems with those, right? And it's something like, it's why I love Breath of the Wild so much, is that game had the same issues, but they designed the world in a way where the occlusion prevented you from seeing it most of the time. And I thought that's like the magic of game design, right? And I think you're right. Like by picking a city with buildings around you and stuff, that they can prevent that from happening.
It's a similar thing here. Yeah, you're never really seeing too far in the distance because Lumiose City is stacked with buildings and towers and whatnot, and you don't even notice it. Obviously, the game ran at a smooth, either 60 or 120. I'm not the best at deciphering that to the naked eye on a TV screen, but it was smooth. It was at the very least 60 the entire way. I didn't notice any hitches. Ran great on Switch 2. Which is cool because again, it's like all seamless, right? The only time there are like cutscenes is when you go from day to night, which I thought was interesting because it's almost like, to use your reference also, Breath of the Wild, where like the blood moon would rise, right?
Yeah.
You'd get that like that 10-second cutscene of all the monsters popping out. It's almost like that, where it's like nighttime comes and the camera pans up to the sky and you see all the stars, and it pans down and like there's spotlights pointing into the air, and you see like trainers now walking, and people aren't like carrying their coffee anymore. They've got like their Pokemon next to them, and they're like in these like aggressive battle stances now, which I thought was fun. You could like feel the atmosphere of the city change at night, which is also where you get into, they call it the Z to A tournament, I think, where the overarching goal of the story is to get from rank Z to A, which is where the title of the game comes in, if anybody was wondering. So you start at rank Z, and as you defeat trainers at night, you earn experience. And once you've accumulated enough experience, you can do a rank up battle. And a rank up battle will be against the trainer in like an indoor arena. And if you beat them, you go up to the next rank, Y, X, W, V, U, T, whatever. And you'll get different rewards corresponding with the rank. It might just be items, Pokeballs, stone, like Mega Stones, whatever. I think the one I did was like maybe or like the W rank up battle. I forget, it was a couple letters in. And I fought like a chef in a restaurant. We were like in a restaurant, but the battle arena was like off to the side. But there were still people like at tables that could like watch us and stuff. I was like, that's fun. Pokemon always does well with like setting the stage for the battles, and that was a cool one to be in. But I thought that was really interesting, and I asked them about that mechanic because obviously nighttime is finite. It felt like it was maybe around 10 to 15 minutes before it cycled back to day. But say you don't like reach the XP needed for the next rank up battle at night. That's just it. Like, you're just going to daytime. You'll just have to try to get it the next time around, right? There's no bailout. The clock doesn't stop unless you pause the game. Or I think if you're in a battle, the clock stops running as well, which I thought was fun. They did say that there will be an ability to like go to a park bench and just like pass the time.
Yeah,
to get
wait.
back to night if you really want to just get back to it, which is good because that could get frustrating.
That's going to be a guide.
Yeah, how to wait in Pokemon Legends. Yeah,
we love writing about how to wait in games.
Yeah. But I thought that was really fun, and obviously, doing the math at 26 letters in the alphabet, I assume I got the vibe that there will be certain like benchmark battles that'll be harder than others.
Sure.
Which I'm looking forward to seeing. Definitely a lot of surprises in there that they didn't want that I danced around, which I thought was interesting. I can see where a lot of that game's surprises are going to come in.
And yeah, no gameplay at all captured at this event, right? So this is going to be.
I was not only not allowed to capture any gameplay, I am actively referring to a glossary to make sure I'm not saying words or names of Pokemon that are illegal. So.
Like I said, these Nintendo embargoes, man, they're like standardized tests. Like it's like you gotta, if you don't check the right box, Doug Bowser deploys ninjas to your house, and there's nothing I can do to stop him, man. His ninjas are too powerful. Awesome. I'm gonna say this. I don't really play the mainline Pokemon games anymore. I'm not saying I'm too old for it. I've kind of fallen off of them since really like the Game Boy days, like Game Boy Advance. Maybe
that was the heyday, right?
Yeah, and like it was also like there were some of the best games on the Game Boy. It had awesome music and like all these things. But I've always gravitated to these weird Pokemon games, be it Hey You Pikachu or Pokemon Snap or Go or even Unite, which isn't like weird or anything, but it's a different genre.
Gonna check out Pokopia?
Yes, I will, because that is like a casual ass game for my casual ass. So yes, I will check out Pokopia, and I look forward to vomiting up stools or whatever else I'm going to do as a Ditto. I find Dittos to be very creepy, but like Detective Pikachu is another example of a game I like. The more I hear about this game, Don, the more I see it. Like we saw Ozzy play the demo. He did it at PAX and he did it at the Worlds. It was the same demo. This is interesting to me because, like you said, it does feel like it's the actual anime. Like the battles kind of feel like the anime battles, and that's interesting to me.
It's the closest approximation they've gotten to it, and I really think it's fun. Greg Burke better love the hell out of this game because as long as I've known him, whenever we talk about Pokemon, he's like, they need to stop doing turn-based battles for once. So I'm going to check in with him when this game comes out. But it's just so cool. And again, like Pokemon following you around isn't new. They've had that since technically Pokemon Yellow with Pikachu, and then Heart Gold and Soul Silver expanded it with the full Pokedex. But just the fact that it's a mechanic in battle, right? Because even a move like Toxic Spikes, which in the turn-based games, the way Toxic Spikes worked was you throw it out, doesn't initially do damage, but whenever your opponent swaps a Pokemon in, they automatically get poisoned, and it forces them to like play a bit more strategically. Now, when you use Toxic Spikes, it sends out a physical purple barrier of spikes on the battlefield, and then they just sit there. So if the Pokemon of the other team passes through it, they become poisoned. So now they have to use it as a physical hazard as they move around the field, which on the surface, it's easy to not run over the purple spikes on the ground. But once earthquakes start coming and, waterfall attacks and flamethrowers and you're rolling and sprinting around, you're like, oh shit, and you run through them and now your Pokemon's like got this purple glow on it. It just creates this like extra layer, I feel like, to battles. And I did a Mega Evolution battle, or I don't know what they call them when you fight the Rogue Megas. I think that's what it is. A Rogue Mega battle where you go into like this almost like void area where there's like a wild Pokemon that is Mega Evolved. It's going crazy. It's destroying stuff. I fought Victory Bell, Victory Bell's Mega, and I had a companion with me. One of the story characters was fighting alongside me, and as we're fighting, you pick up these like little crystals and they fill a Mega Evolution gauge. It's like a meter now. Whereas the way it previously worked was just you had the stone, you could do it once per battle, that was it. Now you kind of fill up a meter by attacking and picking up these crystals, and then once you do it, you can activate Mega Evolution for any of your Pokemon that has a stone. And again, it's seamless. There's no like, you still do the animation where they evolve and they get the purple shell and they like explode out of it. But all that happens like in real time, just on the battlefield, and you can like watch your Pokemon as they do it or continue to run around.
Oh wow!
And, yeah, again, just very immersive. You can swap them out while they're Mega Evolved to like pause their timer and then bring them back in. I was using, I believe it was like a Mega Houndoom, and I chose the Mega Evolved Houndoom because he's a Fire type. Victory Bell's a Grass type. Obviously, Fire is effective against Grass. And again, just the seamlessness, just the entire process of me like throwing out embers and flamethrower attacks to like build up that meter gauge, and then finally hitting the Mega Evolve button, and then just watching him in the field go bloop 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 Mega Evolve, and then we're running around and he's got this huge hulky looking form, and is now hitting it with these Mega Evolved attacks, and watching the health just chip down. And then he goes back to his regular form. All these different things that like in previous games were like animations and cutscenes and like these scripted events, watching them all happen like seamlessly in a living world, which is really cool.
That's interesting. It kind of, a lot of what you're saying reminds me of like the evolution we saw in the Final Fantasy formula with 15, 16, and like remake.
Yeah.
Where it's like kind of real time and remake. That's interesting.
It gave me, I thought about Final Fantasy a little bit as well. And it just, I couldn't get rid of this nagging feeling. And I wrote about it in a feature, I think about a month ago, that I feel like they're setting fans up for real-time battles to be the permanent way Pokemon games are played, at least in like mainline. Just with them releasing or announcing Champions, which is like the turn-based classic VGC software, and Legends doing this. They have a habit of like test running features in, I can't call Legends a spin-off game. People argue about this, but it is technically a mainline game. But just they have a habit of test trying features and then expanding upon them in like the follow-ups or the next generation of games.
Sure.
I just feel like we're going to get to Generation 10, which is probably next year for the 30th anniversary, and real-time combat is going to be here to stay. Just knowing Game Freak and how they work, they did not reinvent how Pokemon battles are done.
Just to throw it away.
Yeah, for it to be a one-and-done thing for the Legends ZA game. I think that this is going to be Pokemon moving forward.
But it also sounds like it's a hit. Like you seem to have enjoyed that style.
I like it a lot. Yeah, there are going to be the old school Pokemon fans who are like, this isn't how you play Pokemon, and I get it. I'm still a turn-based like video game fan. I love Dragon Quest. I love getting to just stare at the screen and all the characters and be like, what should I do here? But I can't deny that this is a fun as hell way to play Pokemon.
Well, you know what they could do finally is pull the lever on all of those remakes and just start pooping out Game Boy remakes for the next 20 years, you know?
Yeah.
That's exactly. Just sitting there. Pokemon Company, Nintendo, Doug Bowser. I don't know who else I need to ask, but yeah, like that seems like a license to print money, especially if you have this new format and then people are opining about how they missed the old one. Like, I think there's probably a way to square that circle, I guess is my point.
My running theory has been like, there's a reason they're not putting these games on Switch Online, right? Those are Pokemon games. It's not an oversight. They're not, they know that people want them and that people are desperate for them. I think it's a very intentional decision that they haven't put them on there or even announced that they're going to do it. And I think it's because they have other plans for those games. So we'll
Nice.
see.
Cool. Yeah, I think so here's a question. Is this a system seller?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they got that bundle, right?
It's got a bundle, but even to boil it down to the simpler points, the game title starts with Pokemon. It's gonna it's gonna move units. Yeah. One last thing I wanted to mention about Pokemon that I forgot was the customization in Legends Z, and they showed this in the trailer already. But my God, it's the best like character customization in a Pokemon game to date, like hands down. X and Y kind of like first push that barrier because I mean it's France, right? Paris is known for its fashion and whatnot, so it's fitting that those Pokemon games have a lot of like clothing items to pick through. But in Legends ZA, I think they've added earrings as an accessory, but you can change everything from shirt, pants, shoes, socks, bag accessories, hat, glasses, earrings. But then within that, there are like different colorways and patterns you can purchase and swap between for outfits. Like as the demos was like walking me through, I found like a cool like sweater that I liked, and then I forget which button it was like Y or something. It opened like a drop down menu, and there were like 3 or 4 different like color patterns that I could use for it. There were different clothing items that were like themed after Pokemon. Like there was I think it was like a long sleeve shirt, but the color pattern was like Alolan Muck, which Muck is usually purple, but in the Alola region from Sun and Moon, it's got this like weird like rainbow pattern where it's like yellow and purple and green, and they had that like layered down on a shirt. I talked to one character who like he had a tie, but there's a Pokemon called Aegislash, I think it or Honedge is his pre-evolution, where the Pokemon's like a sentient like sword. It's like this ghost sword, and his tie was in the shape of like the sword, and it had like the eyeballs on the bottom for Honedge. Just so many cool like Pokemon inspired clothing. But just like the 2 minutes I took to flip through the customization, I was like, my God, people are gonna like pose the same way that like when Baldur's Gate came out, there was like that subsection of Twitter which is people posting pictures of their character and how they customized them. I was like, Pokemon fans are gonna have a ball with this. Like, no two characters are gonna look alike in this game. It was a much needed change because Lord Scarlet and Violet let you change nothing. There were like 4 different versions of the school uniform you could wear, and that was it outside of DLC. So it was like a breath of fresh air to open the menu and just to see options. I loved it.
That's cool.